Vincent, can I start with the day you were kidnapped? It was, if I recall right, January 29th, 1998. What do you remember of that day?
I arrived to my home, it wasn't all that, but as soon as I tried to open my door, there were three guys waiting for me there with balaclava, handguns with silencers, and they took the key and they took control over the situation. Bodyguard could not do anything. I mean, he would have done something, we would have been killed, the two of us.
What happened then?
Took us inside the flat, separated us, searched us. They asked me to kneel down, put a gun into my neck, felt the cold metal, and I thought it was it. I thought it was some sort of contract killing, because there you have that sort of things happening in that part of the world. And then after some long minutes, they fetched me, handcuffed me in the back, put a bag on my head, or they blindfold me somehow, and went downstairs 6 floors. I fell a couple of times, pushed me in the staircase downwards. Then they put me in the trunk of the car, and then I was transferred from car to car for 3 days. I spent 3 days in the trunk of cars for 3 days before being transferred to Chechnya.
You were kept alone, if I understand right, for much of the time of your captivity, but what in general were the conditions that you were in?
Except the first 3 days, I was in a cellar, a dark cellar, handcuffed, one hand to a metallic frame of a bed, and about 10 to 15 minutes light a day.
And remind us how many days?
So more than 300 days. So the most difficult things to describe is the sort of depths of loneliness you go through, because there's nothing happening in the darkness. And to describe that is difficult, because it's 15 minutes of light, the rest is just you are on your own by yourself. So you try not to think too much, because otherwise you get crazy, but you have to keep the mind busy.
Was there violence towards you during your captivity?
In the first 12 days there were violence on aimed at extracting information. So 45 minutes interrogation with loud music to cover the noise, and then it stopped.
Well, what about yourself at that time? I mean, you had ample reason to question why you were working, why you'd come there to work for UNHCR, what you were doing there.
No, you go through a lot of existentialist moments, of course, where you question the rationale of what we were doing. And but again, looking back, if I had to do it again, I think there was a good rationale for us to be there. We were feeding 500,000 people. We were restoring water supply to the entire republic. We were helping IDPs to go back there, rebuilding school, rebuilding social infrastructure, assisting people. We had good reasons to be there.
Can I jump forward to the day of your release? You were released from, as I understand, it was on the Chechen-Ingushetia border. What happened that day?
I was taken out of bed very early in the night. Put on the wall. There was a bit of unnecessary brutality. Handcuffed in the back, taken into a car, and there was a whole convoy of cars, about 5-6 4-wheel drive, brand new, armed guards all over the place. And at some point I'm taken out of a car, moved into another car, and I'm asked to kneel again, which I hardly do. I'm begging for mercy because I don't know what's going on, basically. 4 days before that, 4 stages were beheaded in another place, so I knew about that. I knew that there had been some hostage being killed. I didn't know the circumstances, which group, but I was aware of that. And then all of a sudden I'm dragged by 1 or 2 guys, put in another car. They throw me like a bag of potatoes onto the floor of another car. And then I hurt a helmet with my head when I'm pushed into that car. When I feel the helmet, I know I'm with regular forces. and then we drove, and then I'm taken to a safe place.
Yeah, you're still working with UNHCR. Why do you continue to work for an organisation which has put your life at risk through your work and which you could be subjected to risk again?
A couple of people asked that to me after, say, didn't you have enough? And if I had stopped working for UNHCR at that time, that would have meant they had taken something away from me. Those guys won. So it was really important for me to continue, prove myself I was able to work, and that I was able maybe to make a small difference somewhere for some refugees. A couple of years after now, I can say that what I've gone through have brought me maybe a bit closer to refugees' experience. I didn't know what torture was. I didn't know what solitary confinement was. Now I can talk about it. I can recognize those signals when refugees talk about it.
What did you learn about yourself through this?
Strengths, weaknesses. I know the thin line between madness and sanity. I've explored depths of loneliness that very few people have explored, I think. But you find resources. That's the beauty about human mankind.